A single desperate plea echoed through the obsidian and gold mansion, a stark, foreign sound against the calculated silence of a hidden empire. "Shut up! There's someone in your bedroom." In that heart-stopping moment, the fragile world of a vulnerable housemaid collided violently with the cold, lethal reality of the most feared man in Seoul. His name was Joon-woo, and no one, not even his impeccably dressed Korean wife, dared to raise their voice to him. But now, an audacious, dark-skinned African woman had shattered his control, not out of disrespect, but out of a sudden, terrifying loyalty that neither of them could yet comprehend. The air crackled with danger and a dizzying, forbidden spark, a silent promise that everything in this meticulously ordered life was about to burn down. The air in the Han estate was perpetually sterile, thick with the scent of expensive lilies and unspoken threats. Sarah, a young woman from Nigeria, moved through the pristine halls like a shadow, her dark skin a stark contrast to the mansion's blinding white marble and the muted, expensive pastels favored by its occupants. Her movements were practiced and efficient, honed by necessity and the constant, silent pressure of working for a family where a misplaced cushion could feel like a capital offense. She was here on a student visa, her dreams of earning a degree in architecture, a desperate burning fuel that kept her on her feet for 18 hours a day. Her ordinary life was a relentless cycle of scrubbing, polishing, and sending meager savings back home. Her one personal item was a small, worn, leather-bound sketchbook, filled not with architectural blueprints, but with stunningly detailed pencil drawings of the Han estate's secret gardens, a quiet act of rebellion and a promise that one day she would build something just as magnificent. Joon-woo, the man who owned the estate, the gardens, and essentially the whole silent city block, was rarely seen. But his presence was a chilling, all-encompassing force. He was the head of the Onyx Hand Syndicate, a conglomerate that dealt in everything from legitimate tech to illicit trade. When he did emerge, it was like the sudden materialization of a predator. Impeccably tailored suits in shades of charcoal and midnight blue, framing a face that was strikingly handsome but utterly devoid of warmth. His eyes, a sharp, penetrating black, never seemed to look at things. They seemed to assess their value and their weakness. The day Sarah had her fateful encounter, Joon-woo had returned from a tense, all-night meeting. He walked through the foyer, his gait a smooth, controlled stride, the light catching the razor-sharp edge of his expensive watch. He was on a conference call, his voice a low, dangerous rumble of Korean that needed no translation to convey the gravity of his words. He was discussing the disposal of a traitor, his tone colder than the winter air outside. He didn't even glance at Sarah as she passed. A silver platter of tea balanced on her palm. She was just background noise, a piece of necessary equipment. Sarah was in the main suite, tidying up the dressing room of Mrs. Han Minji, a flawless Korean beauty, whose porcelain composure was as brittle as the antique teacups she collected. Minji had been unusually agitated all day. Suddenly, a sound from the master bedroom made Sarah freeze. A low, unfamiliar male voice, followed by Minji's nervous, hushed laugh. It was barely noon. Sarah's blood ran cold. The rule was absolute. No guests, ever, without Joon-woo's direct knowledge. Her mind raced. She knew with terrifying certainty that this man was not a business associate. He was a secret, a fatal vulnerability. If Joon-woo walked in, the consequences wouldn't just be for Minji, they'd be for anyone who knew and didn't act. Her visa, her future, her life, all of it depended on keeping this fragile world stable. She heard the faint, distinct sound of the heavy front door closing downstairs. Joon-woo was home. She burst out of the dressing room, the silver platter clattering to the floor, her heart hammering a deafening rhythm against her ribs. She saw the shadow of Joon-woo's 6-foot frame nearing the top of the grand staircase, his phone still pressed to his ear, his back stiff with exhaustion and authority. "Sir, the tea is ready," she stammered, trying to buy time. He silenced her with a brutal, dismissive gesture, a flick of his wrist. He was heading straight for the bedroom door. In that flash of paralyzing fear and desperate clarity, something in Sarah snapped. The image of the shame and violence that would erupt, the blood that would stain the white carpet, overcame her instinct for self-preservation. This wasn't about loyalty, it was about survival for everyone. Her voice, usually a timid whisper, ripped through the silent, oppressive hall with an explosive, desperate force. "Shut up! There's someone in your bedroom." Joon-woo stopped dead. The word "shut up" had never been directed at him in his life. He slowly lowered the phone from his ear. His body was tense, not with rage, but with a sudden bewildering stillness. He turned, his cold, black eyes fixing on Sarah's terrified, heaving chest. For the first time, he truly saw her, a defiant African woman, trembling but resolute. And in the silence that followed, a distinct sound drifted from behind the heavy oak door of his master bedroom. A small, panicked cough, unmistakably male. Joon-woo's gaze didn't leave Sarah's face. His mouth curved into a terrifying, slow smile that promised both death and intrigue. He took one controlled step toward her, closing the distance between them. "Who is it, Sarah?" he asked, his voice a low, lethal whisper. "Tell me everything. Right now." The air was so thick with unspoken violence that Sarah couldn't draw a full breath. Joon-woo's face, usually an unreadable mask of cold indifference, was now a masterpiece of barely contained fury, centered terrifyingly on her. He had moved so close that the expensive dark fabric of his suit jacket brushed against her trembling arm. "Who is it, Sarah?" he repeated, the whisper more menacing than any shout. "Tell me everything right now, and understand this. The first lie you speak will be your last act." Sarah felt the weight of his power, the cold, crushing gravity of a man who decided life and death daily. She couldn't look away from his piercing eyes. She saw the Korean man's terrified shadow shift under the door gap behind Joon-woo. There was no going back. "It is a Korean man, sir," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "Mrs. Han brought him home an hour ago. I saw him enter through the side garden door. He is in the bathroom now, I think. She was speaking to him. Privately." Joon-woo didn't flinch. His gaze, however, flickered with something Sarah didn't expect. Not simple rage, but a deep, arctic coldness of betrayal that went beyond mere marital infidelity. His wife, Minji, was not just a spouse. She was a partner in his power structure. Her indiscretion was a security breach, a fatal disrespect to the Onyx Hand Syndicate's carefully curated image. He reached out slowly, not to strike her, but to gently remove the loose, silver serving tray handle Sarah was still clutching, its metal digging into her palm. "You risked your life to tell me this," he observed, his voice now dangerously analytical. "Why? You could have stayed silent." I am an employee, sir, Sarah replied, pulling on the last vestiges of her dignity. Her traditional Nigerian head wrap, tied neatly, felt like a target on her head. My loyalty is to the structure of this house. If something breaks the structure, everything falls, including my own future here. I need this job to live. I value my life too much to ignore a threat to yours. It was a brilliant lie built on a core truth: survival. Joon-woo paused, a fractional hesitation that held the universe. He was used to sycophants and paid obedience. This woman, who possessed nothing but fierce ambition and a visa, had confronted him, demanding his attention. He stepped back, retrieving his phone. The coldness returned, eclipsing the momentary flicker of interest. He spoke 3 rapid sentences in Korean into the phone, his eyes never leaving the bedroom door. The instruction was clear: secure the perimeter. No one enters, no one leaves. He then looked at Sarah. Wait in the library. Do not speak to anyone. Do not move. If you tell anyone anything about what happened this morning, your fear of losing your job will be the least of your concerns. You understand? Yes, sir, she whispered, turning to walk toward the library, her legs barely supporting her. As Sarah walked away, she risked a glance back. Joon-woo had pulled a slim, stainless steel pistol from an inner jacket pocket. He kicked open the master bedroom door with a deafening crash that echoed through the silent mansion. Inside, Minji was sitting on the edge of the silk duvet, a delicate Korean man with slicked back hair, clearly not a fighter, frozen in panic by the window. His name was Tae-hyung, a rising art curator known to be Minji's longtime acquaintance. Minji, Joon-woo said, his voice level, heavy, and infinitely disappointing. I trusted you with my name, and you brought a mouse into my lion's den. Minji's composure shattered. She leapt up, a beautiful, terrified statue. Joon-woo, please, it's not what you think. He was just delivering documents. He was just leaving. He was leaving through the bathroom, Minji? Joon-woo countered, raising the gun slowly, pointing it not at Tae-hyung, but at the magnificent imported Korean porcelain vase Minji cherished. Crash. The gunshot was deafening. The vase exploded into 1,000 glittering shards. Minji screamed, covering her face. Joon-woo lowered the gun, his eyes burning with an intense, deadly calm. He leaves through the front door. Minji, after you tell me exactly what you two were truly plotting. He had established control, but the secret of the man's presence and the identity of the person who revealed it was now a ticking clock. Joon-woo stepped out, closing the door and locking it from the outside. He looked toward the library where Sarah was hiding, a dark shadow lingering in his expression. He knew his wife was cheating. But the true question was, why did the housemaid care? And what new weapon had he just acquired in Sarah's desperate loyalty? Sarah sat rigidly in the vast, mahogany-paneled library, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The oppressive silence broken only by the ticking of an antique grandfather clock. She could still hear the echoing crash of the gunshot and Minji's terrified scream. Her life felt less secure now than it had when she was sweeping floors. She was not just a housemaid anymore. She was a witness, a player in a game of power and betrayal far beyond her means. The library was lined floor to ceiling with rare, untouched books, a cold, beautiful tomb. Sarah's eyes, however, were drawn to the single worn book she had spotted on a bottom shelf: Contemporary African Architecture. It was a cruel reminder of her suspended dream. The door opened and Joon-woo stepped in. He had changed his jacket. The previous one, she noted, was gone, likely carrying the smell of gunpowder. He carried a heavy glass of amber liquid, but his movements were steady, his face a chilling mask of resolution. "You said he was in the bathroom," Joon-woo began, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. He leaned against the immense fireplace mantel dominating the room. He was Tae-hyung, a curator. Minji was feeding him sensitive information, not just having an affair. She tried to frame it as jealousy, pathetic. Sarah inhaled sharply. "Plotting?" "Minji's family is attempting to leverage a rival faction in the syndicate to undermine my control of the docks," Joon-woo explained, his words calculated, treating her like an equal in this dark secret. "Tae-hyung was the courier for the documents. Records of my offshore holdings. Your interference, Sarah, saved me more than mere embarrassment." He lifted his glass, the movement deliberate. "Tell me again why you shouted." Sarah understood the test. This was about motive, not action. She had to show him a calculated, self-serving reason he could respect. "Sir, the man was Korean," she began, meeting his gaze. "He did not look like security. Mrs. Han was panicking. In my country, when a wealthy man's house is unstable, the staff is the first to suffer. The police, the rivals. They all target the weakest link. If there was a plot, and I knew nothing, I would have been collateral damage. If I alerted you, I secured my immediate employment and demonstrated my value as an asset with eyes and ears, not just hands." Joon-woo watched her, a slow, predatory interest dawning in his eyes. He saw the cold logic, the financial pressure, and the desperate ambition veiled beneath her fear. She was not just reacting, she was strategizing for survival. "Value," he repeated, swirling the amber liquid. "A valuable asset requires protection. And a contract." He walked over to a leather chair and picked up her sketchbook, the one with the architectural drawings, which she had inadvertently left near the silver platter. He flipped through the pages. The detailed, intricate sketches of the mansion's secret garden, the geometric precision of her designs, captivated him. "You are here to study architecture," he stated, looking at her artwork, not at her. "Yet you clean my toilets. An absurd contradiction. You draw my house better than the firm that built it." He dropped the book onto the large, polished desk. He didn't ask her about her dreams. He simply offered a solution wrapped in a chain. "Minji is gone. She will not be returning. Tae-hyung has been relocated. There is now a vulnerability in my household structure, a lack of trust. The staff is too comfortable, too blind." Joon-woo stepped closer to the desk, his shadow falling over Sarah's drawings. "I need a chief of domestic operations. Someone who sees everything, hears everything, and reports only to me. You will manage the entire household, its budget, and its secrets. Your duties will shift from scrubbing to security. You will have access to resources, a salary that triples your current earnings, and the financial stability to complete your education." Sarah's breath hitched. This was everything she had ever dreamed of, but wrapped in an iron fist. It was a golden cage. "What is the catch, sir?" she finally managed to ask. Joon-woo leaned down, his voice dropping to a low, intimate command that vibrated with immense power. "The catch, Sarah, is that you are now officially mine. Your life is no longer ordinary. You will see my cold world. If you betray me, your life ends. But if you stand with me, no one in this city will ever be able to touch you or your ambitions. It is a silent contract, sealed in blood and silence. Do you accept the position, Sarah? He extended his hand, not for a handshake, but offering the heavy engraved key to the master suite. The key to her new position, and the key to his dangerous world. Sarah looked from the glint of the brass key to the cold, compelling intensity in Joon-woo's eyes, knowing that taking it meant trading her modest freedom for terrifying, magnificent power. Would she seize the golden cage? Sarah took the key. It felt heavy and cold in her palm, a physical representation of the silent contract. I accept the position, sir, she said, her voice steady, the fear now channeled into fierce determination. Joon-woo gave a barely perceptible nod, a flicker of approval in his eyes. Good. Get rid of your uniform. A chief of domestic operations does not wear a servant's clothes. You will manage the house from the East Wing office. I expect a full security and efficiency report on this household in 3 days. Do not fail to impress me, Sarah. Within hours, Sarah's world was irrevocably altered. She stood in the lavish East Wing office, overlooking the secluded secret garden she loved to sketch. She was dressed in new clothes, a sharp, tailored navy skirt suit chosen by the estate's personal shopper. Clothes that screamed authority, not servitude. Her demeanor had changed. The timid shadow was replaced by an astute, focused manager. She started her work immediately, interviewing the existing staff, her questions precise, focused on loopholes and potential security risks. She had to learn the cold world of the mafia boss fast. Every member of staff had an allegiance, every camera feed had a blind spot, and every secret Minji had kept was a loose thread Sarah needed to tie up. The biggest change was the dynamic with Joon-woo. He no longer ignored her. Now their interactions were intense, professional, and dangerously close. Their meetings took place late at night in his private study, bathed in the dim glow of the city lights filtering through the bulletproof windows. He was testing her constantly. Once, he pointed to an error in the month's spending report, a small 5-figure discrepancy in the security budget. Explain this overage, he commanded, leaning back in his leather chair, the power imbalance a palpable weight between them. It is not an overage, sir, Sarah corrected him calmly, pointing to the line item. The previous head of domestic operations recorded the purchase of a new CCTV system as maintenance. I categorized it as a capital asset improvement, which moved it to a different line. The cost is the same, but the accounting is now accurate for tax reporting. I corrected the structure. The system wasn't efficient. It was deceptively simple. Joon-woo looked at her, truly intrigued. Her intelligence was not just academic, it was practical, ethical, and ruthlessly honest, qualities he seldom encountered in his world. You care about integrity, even in the ledger of a man who makes his living outside the law, he noted, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. Why, Sarah? Integrity is the only thing the law cannot take from me, sir, she replied, holding his gaze. And I do not believe in simple deception. It is always a weak spot. One evening, after a particularly grueling session reviewing the security layout of the mansion's panic rooms, Sarah saw a brief, raw glimpse behind his cold facade. Joon-woo had just taken a call, speaking in hushed, furious Korean, his knuckles white against the desk. When he hung up, he looked utterly exhausted, the mask of the invincible mafia boss slipping for a fleeting second. He wasn't just cold. He was relentlessly burdened. He rubbed his temples. This life, It is built on quicksand. Every pillar is a potential enemy. He looked at Sarah, who was quietly organizing the blueprints. Minji was not the first. Trust is a luxury I cannot afford. Sarah felt a sudden, unexpected pang of empathy. She saw not the powerful Joon-woo, but a solitary, magnificent prisoner of his own empire. She didn't offer sympathy, she offered practical support, the only thing she knew he would accept. Sir, with respect, the quicksand is not the problem. The problem is you keep building the same way. You need new materials. He raised an eyebrow, challenging her. And what material are you? I am granite, sir, she stated simply, her eyes reflecting the dim light. Foreign, tested by fire, and difficult to break. Joon-woo rose, walking toward her. The air crackled with a new kind of tension. Not fear, but a dizzying magnetic pull. He stopped just inches away, his towering frame overshadowing her. He reached out, his hand moving toward her face, and Sarah's breath hitched, anticipating a touch. He didn't touch her. Instead, his thumb brushed the crisp fabric of her blazer, where the onyx hand crest was subtly embroidered. Granite, he murmured, his gaze intense, dropping to her lips for a heartbeat too long. Let us see how much pressure it takes to make you fracture, Sarah. The moment shattered when his secure line buzzed urgently on the desk. He turned away, answering with a crisp, authoritative tone. Sarah watched him, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. She had earned his respect, and perhaps something dangerously close to his fixation. But as Joon-woo spoke into the phone, his expression suddenly hardened into genuine alarm. He looked back at Sarah, his eyes wide and lethal. The man, Tae-hyung, he didn't just relocate. He escaped our holding facility an hour ago. And he left one thing behind. A note with your name on it, Sarah. Joon-woo didn't wait for Sarah's reaction. He moved with the cold efficiency of a general facing an immediate threat. The house is locked down. No one leaves. No one enters. He barked into his secure line. He then slammed the phone down and fixed Sarah with an intense gaze. Tae-hyung is desperate. He knows you identified him. He will assume you have details of his whereabouts before I arrived. He will come after the weakest link he can access. You. He crossed the study swiftly, grabbing a jacket and strapping a holster discreetly beneath it. Sarah's earlier fear was now replaced by a chilling sense of reality. Her life was truly entwined with his danger. Sir, I have no information on his contacts, she clarified quickly, her mind racing. But I did see him talking to a delivery driver outside the East Gate 3 days before. A small blue van, not the usual courier. Joon-woo's eyes narrowed. Details? You remember everything? He grabbed her wrist, his touch sudden and possessive, pulling her toward the hidden door leading to his private security command center. From now until he is contained, you do not leave my sight. You are my witness, and you are my vulnerability. Move! The security room was a stark contrast to the mansion's opulence, a tight, airless box filled with banks of screens displaying every corner of the estate. Sarah was forced into the confined space with Joon-woo, the atmosphere immediately thick with suspense and their undeniable rising tension. Joon-woo's movements were sharp, decisive. He used the infrared maps to track his men and barked orders in Korean, detailing routes and containment zones. Sarah, standing beside him, observed the chilling artistry of his command, the way his intelligence worked to manage chaos. Identify that van, Joon-woo ordered, pointing to a fuzzy image from the security log Sarah had mentioned. He turned to look at her. You have an unusual clarity, Sarah. Tell me what you see in the house now that you missed before. Sarah scanned the live feeds, forced to compartmentalize her terror. The gardener, Mr. Choi. She pointed to a screen where an elderly man was tending roses near the west gate, seemingly oblivious. He has been here 20 years. Since Minji left, he spends nearly all his time around the rose bushes closest to the low wall. He is creating a visual obstruction. He is either grieving Minji or he is clearing a line of sight. Joon-woo stared at the screen, a terrifying recognition dawning. Mr. Choi had been Minji's most trusted confidant. He's signaling, Joon-woo breathed out. He spoke a curt instruction into the microphone. Intercept Choi. Non-violently for now. Hours bled into the late night. They hadn't moved from the security room, subsisting on stale coffee and adrenaline. The intense pressure, the shared danger, and the close proximity began to burn away the professional boundaries. Joon-woo took a call, a brief, brutal exchange confirming that Tae-hyung had managed to leave the city but had activated a small team still inside. The danger was immediate, localized. He finally turned from the screens, the glow highlighting the exhaustion and the raw power in his features. He saw Sarah, her back slumped against the wall, her tailored suit now rumpled, yet her eyes still wide and focused, tracking the maps. Her Nigerian heritage was evident in the sculptural strength of her face and the coiled resilience in her stance. You are not trembling, he noted, his voice low, intimate in the small space. If I tremble, I will miss a detail, sir, she replied, her voice husky from lack of sleep. I cannot afford to be afraid right now. He walked slowly toward her, forcing her to look up. This life demands fear, Sarah. Fear keeps you sharp. You stepped into this abyss by shouting. You could have saved your own skin and let me deal with the consequences later. He was inches away now, the scent of his expensive cologne and gunpowder filling her senses. Why did you risk it, truly? This time she answered honestly, abandoning all pretense of strategy. Because, if you had walked in and seen them, the consequences would have been chaos. Not just for Minji, but for the entire house. I needed order to survive. You are the center of that order, Joon-woo. His gaze dropped to her lips, and his eyes, usually cold, flickered with genuine, dangerous heat. He reached up, his large, rough hand brushing the stray coil of her hair from her cheek, a touch that felt like both a threat and a promise. Order, he whispered, his voice dangerously close. I don't offer order, Sarah. I offer survival, and I think I am addicted to the sound of your voice. Just as the undeniable tension reached its peak, a small red blinking light appeared on one of the perimeter maps, a motion sensor near the master suite, where Minji's things remained. Intruder Sector Beta, the automated voice announced. He's not after the documents, Joon-woo. He's after something far more personal. And he's inside the house. The silent alarm blared in the confined security room, shattering the intimate tension between them. Joon-woo's entire body shifted from dangerous confidant to lethal operative. He grabbed Sarah's hand, his grip firm, and pulled her toward the hidden emergency exit. He's in the master suite. He knows Minji left something important behind, Joon-woo muttered, leading her through a narrow, dark passage. Stay behind me, don't make a sound. They moved silently through the walls of the mansion, Sarah's heart hammering against her ribs, the sheer power of Joon-woo's presence being the only thing keeping her grounded. They reached a service entrance near the main bedroom. The master suite was in disarray. Drawers were pulled out, their expensive contents scattered. Tae-hyung, sweat glistening on his face, was frantically tearing apart the lining of a hidden compartment in the wall. He was not a trained fighter, but he was driven by panic and desperation. Joon-woo stepped out, his pistol raised and steady. Tae-hyung, the fun is over. Tae-hyung spun around, his eyes wide, recognizing the deadly calm of the man who held his fate. His gaze fell instantly on Sarah, standing slightly behind Joon-woo, her face pale but resolute. "You!" Tae-hyung shrieked in Korean, pointing a trembling finger at Sarah. "The housemaid! You ruined everything! She was going to leave him for me. The money was to pay off my debts, and she promised me the ledger. You are his snitch." Tae-hyung didn't have time to react. Joon-woo fired a warning shot, narrowly missing the man's ear. "The ledger is irrelevant now," Joon-woo stated coldly. "Minji's family is already contained. You betrayed my security for money, not love." As the security detail stormed the room, Tae-hyung made one last desperate move. He lunged not at Joon-woo, but straight for Sarah, intending to use her as a human shield. In that instant of chaos, Joon-woo didn't calculate the tactical advantage. He reacted with pure, raw instinct, an emotional, protective response that shocked even himself. He stepped forward, putting his body between Sarah and the struggling man, shielding her completely as his men finally subdued Tae-hyung with force. The security team dragged the curator away. The room was silent once more, broken only by the sounds of shattered glass and Sarah's ragged breathing. Joon-woo stood over her, his chest heaving slightly, his suit jacket wrinkled where Tae-hyung had grabbed it. He had chosen to protect her physically, exposing himself to risk, something he never did. He looked down at Sarah, his eyes searching hers, looking for a reaction beyond fear. "You are not a snitch, Sarah," he said, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. "You are my shield. You keep the light on the danger I cannot see." Sarah, overwhelmed, finally allowed her facade of control to fracture. The terror, the adrenaline, the sudden realization that this ruthless, untouchable man had risked his life for her, forced a raw emotion to the surface. Tears welled in her eyes, not of fear, but of profound, exhausted relief, and a confusing, undeniable connection. "I need my life back, Joon-woo," she whispered, using his first name for the first time. "I need my degree. I need to be safe." Joon-woo reached out, and this time, his touch was deliberate. His thumb gently wiped a single tear from her cheek. His expression was not cold, but intensely, deeply focused. A man realizing that the very foundation of his life was shaking. The cold, impenetrable mafia boss was cracking, falling not for an equal, but for the fierce, fragile ambition of the woman who had dared to shout at him. "You will have your degree, Sarah," he promised, his voice low and solemn. "You will have safety, but you will not have your old life back. That is gone." He leaned in, his gaze burning with a truth that transcended the power imbalance, the danger, and the death that surrounded them. "You shouted to save me from chaos, and in doing so, you brought order to a part of me I had shut down for years," he confessed, the admission heavy with profound, forbidden emotion. "You are the granite I need. The wife was a convenience. You are a necessity." He placed both hands on her shoulders, guiding her to look at the destroyed master suite, the scene of betrayal and violence. The greatest threat is always what you cannot anticipate, he said. He looked at her one last time, a dark, possessive hunger in his eyes. Now Taehyung is contained. The house is safe. But you will no longer sleep in the servants' quarters. You will move into the East Wing apartment, right next to mine. Because tonight, Sarah, I realized something truly terrifying. He paused, letting the silence scream. I need you close enough that if you ever dare to shout again, I will hear you before you even draw a breath. And I will never let you leave. Thank you for watching. Join the discussion and decide Sarah's fate. Like this episode if you are hooked. Subscribe for immediate access to Season 2 updates. Share this story with your friends. Who do you think is the most dangerous character? Tell us in the comments where you are watching from and your favorite moment from the season.